Welcome to the Bad Parents Podcast. I'm not going to say my name this time because now that we're visual, I feel like the powers that be, the visual directors of this podcast, should put my name underneath me now with my Instagram handle.
Holy diva.
So I'm...
Wow. Okay, Johnny Garbett.
No.
Yeah.
Do that.
I'm going to say it. I'm Ryan Parker.
Donna Whalen over here.
Oh my goodness.
Diva free.
So today on the podcast, how being a kid today is different. Do you polish off your kid's lunchbox? If you do, you're not alone. And guys, guess what? It's an exciting day. Got our first email.
Oh.
With a question for the group.
Okay.
You could do so at badparents@curiouscast.ca. So let's get into it. The title of the email, I didn't mean to say intimate. Mm-hmm. Let's get into it.
Mm-hmm. Real bad parents.
The title of the email is... I think I scared my kid. Adam sends us along, okay? So I listen to you three every morning till 10. Binge season 1 of your podcast and keeping up with season 2. So keeping up with the title of my email. My son kept peeing his pants at school 3 of the 5 days in 1 week. Then Monday and Tuesday the next. So I brought him to Shoppers Drug Mart, made him pick out pull-ups, drove home and made him carry them upstairs. He cried 90% of the way, but he hasn't peed at school since. Was I a bad parent? I should have added, he wouldn't stop peeing his pants. He just started JK. Maybe I went too old school on him.
So he thinks he's being too old school by buying Depends.
Pull-ups.
Depends. Sorry, he's in JK. He's not a golden girl.
Exactly.
Right, pull-ups. Interesting. Huh. Interesting.
Like, did he do it in a way, does it imply that he almost wanted to shame him a little bit by making him carry them? And
maybe, but you're only shaming him to you, right? You're not saying carry a pack of pull-ups to school in your backpack and let all your friends see that you're doing it.
Yeah, like some kids are 3. My son was 3 till December 18th in JK. And I think they had, what do they call them?
Extra pants?
Yeah, but they called them something. Mistake bag or mistake.
What do you call yours, Johnny? You got a pair here.
My trunk pants. I keep them in my trunk in case of an accident. But some school boards, from my understanding, because I have 2 small kids, Jack just started JK, is you need to be able to use the washroom on your own before you're allowed to enter the school.
I know, but we all lied a little.
No, absolutely. Hey, mistakes happen, right, guys? Sometimes you got to use like a porta potty at 3 a.m. at a construction zone on your way into work. But hey, we're not talking about me.
IBS.
Undiagnosed. Listen, I think that it's hard to say what works for one won't work for another. And I think you're allowed to be old school if that's what works for you.
Hey, it worked, didn't it?
Yeah, I guess.
I don't think it's overly mean. Like if you're, like you said, if you're trying to shame him publicly.
Yeah.
But if you're just like, hey, listen, buddy, if you're not there yet, go grab some of these and you pick your. Maybe there's a little tough love in there, but is tough love really that bad? I don't know.
It's not like you're taking the kid's pee-pee pants and putting them up a flagpole with his like home address on it, saying, "Hey, my son does this."
Like with a puppy, you rub their nose in it or something, right? You're not doing that.
No.
Right?
And I think it's okay.
He could have also done like the old, was it the Adam Sandler movie there? Billy Madison? We're all peeing our pants. It's cool. Oh, look at me. I peed my pants. Oh, I want to touch the hiney. No, I don't know what that had to do with anything. But remember that? Remember the kid peed his pants?
That's right.
And he put water on it. He's like, all the cool kids are doing it.
Yeah.
But I can see, as somebody whose children probably have accidents more than your children, 3 out of 5 days coming home and having, like, you're like, something's up here. And sometimes they say bedwetting is a cause of something else, right? Mm-hmm. Whether or not you pee your pants or pee the bed, that's a different sort of story. And by no means do any of us have any sort of like certificate saying that, like, hey, we're therapists, except for Shauna, where she actually does. But is there anything that you do in your parenting style that would be deemed old school?
I'm the least old school.
Yeah.
I'm so new school.
Right.
Like over the top.
Right.
Let's talk about everything to the point where the kids are like, we get it, feelings and all that. So, and not me.
I make my kids go out and milk our cow. We live like kind of a simpler life. Put your hands on those teats. Warm them up. No, we don't.
What do you really do? You don't do. Are you more old school?
I hate to say it. I've yelled.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Our regular kind of daytime job is a morning show in Toronto. And so I'm never there in the morning. And I think I would be harder on them when they are not wanting to go to school.
I've heard you on the phone. You are.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I'm like, you just got to go.
It's kind of like you need one parent like that. You still need the bad cop, good cop approach. And often it is the dad that's the bad cop.
Yep.
But not always. I know other relationships I've heard where the mom is like, there's some hockey moms. Woo.
And listen, I get it. Like I get, my wife's there, and I know what I've been like, where I'm like, fine, fine. And I don't like that about myself, where I just give in.
I know.
Whether it's school or maybe it's like they want something and they ask so much. So I'm a little of that, and I'm a little of like, I get the feelings, but I'm trying to teach them sometimes you just got to do things you don't want to do. And we all do, and it's a life lesson, right?
So yesterday my wife was at work and I was home alone with both my kids, and something had happened. I was in the kitchen making dinner. They were playing in the playroom. Something had happened and Jack started crying, like legit crying, not like a whiny I want a crayon or whatnot. Legit hurt himself. So I went into the room, old school, like RoboCop. What happened?
Yeah.
Is that what's going on here? And Olivia looks at me, my 5-year-old, and says, when's mommy coming home? And I said, I'm dealing with something. It doesn't matter when she's coming home. I'm just wondering when mommy's coming home. I said, Olivia, why? Why does it matter? Because I don't think you can handle the crying.
Wow. You got called out
So
by
I
your own
got
daughter.
called out. Old school call out.
Wow.
And then maybe sometimes when you get called out like that, because, children tell no lie.
Yes.
You're like, wow, maybe I'm handling this in not the best way. Now, I did get to the bottom of it, and Jack bit his finger while eating grapes. I'm like, hey, how about you take your finger out of your mouth before you chomp down on it, pal?
Right. Yeah.
There we go. We all learned something, right? So thank you very much for the email, Adam.
And just a side note, where Sarah was when she wasn't home when Johnny was left alone, she was trying to get her driver's license.
Just continuing the thread.
Continuity.
Ryan with some connective tissue between the podcasts. Thank you so much for that.
Did you get it? Did she get her light? Or I guess it would be the G1.
G1, right. So she can drive with you now, Johnny.
There's no highway.
There we go. All right. So how being a kid today is different than being a kid back in the day is the next topic.
Yep. And so they did a study. They're always doing studies to see, because one of the things we talk about a lot is, are we doing better? Are we doing worse? We know we're parenting so differently than our parents, but what's it like from the kid's perspective? Is it different? How is it different being a kid today than it was 25 years ago? And they came up with 10 things that are very different. One is about unsupervised time. We used to have a lot more of it and a lot earlier in our lives. They're saying kids now are getting unsupervised time much later in their lives. There's a lot more helicopter parenting happening in the younger years. Would you agree with that, looking at your own situation, right? We had so much more earlier unsupervised time.
100%.
Yeah.
I don't think that's even up to debate.
No, I you'll see a lot of these are not up to debate. They're not saying it's necessarily bad or good. They're just saying, like, even from staying home alone, latchkey kids.
Yes, for sure. But I'll say, and isn't that funny where you think more double income families, but less latchkey kids?
Yeah, I know.
Isn't that weird? And the other thing I was going to say is, I think going back to you about unsupervised, is I find now there's just so many more planned things. For example, I remember a friend, and my kids were really young, so I wasn't even there yet, and they said they were taking their kid to bicycle camp. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, it's like a camp where they learned how to ride a bicycle. And I thought he was joking. I'm like, what are you talking about? We take them to a community center and someone else teaches them how to ride. Like, I'm like, what are you talking about? So it's things like that where we just kind of, maybe your mom or dad tell you how to ride a bike, your friends did, and you just did it. Now everything is structured. And
that was on the list separately, was about structured time and unstructured time.
I remember you saying this. I saw a dad trying to teach his daughter how to ride a bike. And it's like, there seems to be like no more trial and error in parenting, right? It's either like, what's the hack to make it easier for the kid? And like, he like duct taped a hockey stick on the end of the bike and took off the training wheels. But I'm like, sometimes you just have to fall. Sometimes you just have to fall. And 25 years ago, from what you're saying, it was 1999. It's putting me in a totally different headspace. Because like, it's such a different time. 25 years ago from today was so crazy.
I know, your wife wasn't even alive. But here's the other thing I want to say. Side note, 99, right? There's no way she was.
She was 13.
No, she doesn't even know what Y2K is. So here's an example, and I'm sorry to cut in, but you got me thinking. So my son went and played pickleball with his friend, okay? And they were just playing. They were just having fun. They were just being 13-year-old boys. Yeah. And an older gentleman went over there and went through the rules with them. And I'm like, I get he's maybe trying to be helpful and be nice. But when my son came home, he's like, he didn't want to be mean and rude.
Yeah.
But he said in his head, he's like, we're just having fun. We're just hitting the ball back and forth. There was nobody else there except for, and I'm like, sometimes you just got to let kids be kids. And yeah, maybe they're not doing it right, but they're having fun, so who cares?
Exactly.
Can you imagine going to the tennis courts 25 years ago and playing tennis and have it like double hit on your side and somebody on the other side of the fence is like, hey, you're cheating. Yeah. That kid's cheating. What are you talking about?
That's
crazy.
What
do you want me to do? Go rob a store? Like I'm playing tennis in the courts.
Like it's so weird. Like, but I can't get, because I don't think the intention was wrong. He probably thought he was doing something nice.
Yeah.
But the kids were, when you're 13 and you look up to a 40-year-old, you're like, I'm not going to tell him. Like,
no.
At least I'm glad that's not his personality type. Some kids would tell you to scram.
Oh, yeah.
Scram?
Oh.
What year was I born?
My little guy would be.
Yeah, say, get out of here.
I think so.
Sure.
Scram, see?
Stranger danger.
Yeah, too much time hanging around the court, see? You got to get out of here.
Scram.
Scram, kid.
Another category. So some of these, there's 10 things, but you can lump them together. Technology. How has that changed? Not only are we using it, we're dependent on it. I watched my kid do homework. I know I'm supposed to help him, but I watched him do it. And it's like, Alexa, how do you spell this? Alexa, how do you spell that? And I was like, whoa, dependence? They can't really do a lot of assignments without some form of technology.
And you know what else is kind of sad if you're comparing the generations is, when you had a gaming system, you had 2 controllers. Your friend had to come over to play with you, right? You would blow on the cartridge, you throw her in there, and you just play next to each other. And I get the convenience of the headsets and talking, but there's some of that charm is just gone now.
Oh, absolutely. I remember a birthday party for one of my kids where I rented out like a virtual online sports. They were all in separate pods at a birthday party. I was like, what am I doing? They're all in separate. They could just be at home.
Yeah.
Do you know how many times I have planned my parents' funeral in my head as a 13-year-old? Because they said they would be home by 5:30, and it's 7 o'clock, and no cell phones, no nothing. They were on the road driving, and I'm like, my parents are dead.
Yeah.
They've died. How do I, as a 13-year-old, sell a house in Mississauga?
Yeah.
How does it happen? Who do I call? Because there was no technology.
You're so right.
But now it's like, air tags and phones and all these things keep us so connected where you don't have that fun of like, hey, maybe my parents died in an accident.
Well, the thing is, my son just went to his first big, I'd say high school party. It was a sleepover, and his buddy got in trouble because his buddy's phone died when they were at a different location. So the mom, last tracking of this kid, was thought that he had stayed in this unfamiliar place. And I don't track my kid. I refuse to because I know I'll go nuts, just like she went nuts.
Yeah, right.
And it ended up being a lot of
worry
conflict, worry for nothing, and lack of trust.
Yeah.
I would like to think that, and maybe I'm naive, but I would like to think that I can trust my kid, and I refuse to track him. And he's been driving now for, I don't know, a few months, and I refuse to put it on there because I think I would just watch too much.
At what age, because your kids are older than mine, at what age did you start giving them that rope?
Freedom?
Yes. Sorry.
Lots. They have a lot. My kids have a lot of freedom.
Yeah, pretty early on. Like we were never really helicopter parents.
I know that your middle son, I think your other 2 kids as well, were into scootering, and you have a skate park where you live, and you would let them go on their own and come back. When did that start?
Okay, that's a good question. Probably 11, 12. And the only reason why it was even that late is because there's a pretty big intersection you got to cross. If we were on the same side as a skate park, I would have done it even younger.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will say busy intersections freak me out.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason why I held back a little bit. But yeah, I let them live their life.
Do you still send your kids to the store to get you cigarettes, or do you do
cigars?
Now they smoke with him.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Yeah, I got it. No
13.
Okay, good. All right, cool.
And what was the other one? They say that kids today are physically healthier. I find that shocking because they're not outside. Mine aren't.
Right.
They're sitting around a lot. You hear a lot about what's that tech hump they have growing in the back of their neck. But according to health and the way they're eating, I could see that. I mean, we eat so much processed foods. frozen foods. Now our kids are eating kind of like quinoa and avocado, and like a lot of kids are eating better.
Yes.
So I don't know. This is according to a report from a foundation that looked at the way that they're at, like, healthcare is higher, right? I mean, I think I can understand that. This one surprised me the most, is that we're physically healthier.
It's funny you say that, because when you talk about my segment coming up here about lunches, and that's what they mention, is that how different their food is compared to our food, and how much healthier theirs is.
Yeah. I think we're
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, totally.
Look at what we ate. Look at the plastic puddings.
Yeah.
Those cups of pudding. What was that?
But we didn't have snackables. Like, now you're getting like processed kielbasa and whatever, like as easy.
Yeah, but we'd have like a Joe Louis.
Oh,
Maybe
man.
I never got a lunch.
Wheels.
Sorry, I'm lost on this one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Really?
I ate garbage.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, we'll tackle it coming up in a second, because it's I find lunches now even more complicated.
Yeah. And finally, which is very poignant, as you know, the election in the States is happening, kids today have more stress about worldly events, politics, the environment. My older kid is very concerned about the environment.
Oh my God! And you know what's crazy? The environment. I know. When you're a kid, they tell you about acid rain. You're like, I don't care. You talking about
I
washing
still
jeans?
don't care.
I think I'm 48 years old. The first prime minister I actually knew, Mulrooney, maybe, whoever was after that, even. Like, my kids know who the president of the United States is. I'm like, how do you even know or care?
And they have opinions, and
Yeah.
they're often educated opinions too. So I mean, it's good and bad. I like that they're aware, but I think it leads to a lot more anxiety and stress than they need to have at their age.
I think one of the grossest things that have come up in schools recently is the no garbage lunch. So whatever you bring with you for lunch, you bring home. I've touched some gross stuff in my life, but none since my kids have started going to school. And when you said, would you polish off your kid's lunchbox? My immediate answer is nope.
No. Okay, and I'm going to be quite honest with you. When it comes to numbers and figures, I understand more percentage than I do like 1/3. I don't know if 1/3 is a lot or not. And I'm being quite, I don't understand.
Do you do any baking?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, so you would know what a 1/3 of a full cup is.
Yeah, but I can see it. You know what I mean?
It's 33.
33%?
Yeah.
Like, why don't we just talk like humans?
I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you understand 33%? Like, if I said to you, there's a 33% chance you're going to get laid tonight.
Right.
Or there's a 1/3 chance. Which are you taking? I'm taking 33, even though it's the same number.
I'll always take 1/3 of a pie. I just would.
So 1/3 of the parents eat their kids' lunchbox. And I'm with you, as you mentioned in the last segment there, Johnny, the stuff that, because I don't remember bringing anything home, right?
You threw it out.
You threw it out. And
the garbage cans full of apples.
Oh my God. And it'd just be like, whoever your Kobe was at the time, right?
Yeah.
Like Larry Bird, whatever, Jordan. And you threw it all out. And I hate to say it. God bless my mama. I'm so sorry that I throw out most of the sandwiches, because I have a weird thing with sandwiches. They got to be like kind of freshly made in front of me.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a bit of a diva.
I don't apologize to my mom. Judy, you made terrible sandwiches. I hope you're watching. She's probably watching.
My soul.
But like honey and peanut butter, you know how hard that honey layer would get?
Right. Oh, I know, by the time you get to it. And so, but we never, it doesn't matter if it's Joe Louis wrapper or yogurt, whatever, it just went to the garbage. Now, what do they call them?
Boomerang lunches.
Boomerang lunches. And so they're so gross. It's, out of all the jobs as being a parent, opening that up is so gross because it's warm. You know, the ice pack has now gotten hot, and there's yogurty things in there.
Always yogurt.
It's so gross. So, with that being said, I can't believe 33% of people polish off the lunch, and that they say 17% say that their lunch is much more gourmet than that they had as kids.
Well, Johnny does bento boxes, and I think he does a fancy lunch, don't you, Johnny?
I don't necessarily think that I do a fancy lunch, but I like the ability that the bento box gives for variety, right? So instead of putting the strawberries with the crackers, like now the crackers will stay fresh, right? They won't get soggy.
Right.
So I understand it. I don't know if I necessarily go fancy, but I definitely go variety.
Yeah.
Right? Because like
I would
my
eat your kids' lunch.
My kids are so picky that I'm like, if you take, I don't know, 33% of the lunch and eat it, then at least you had something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you, much like Rye, I know because we've been friends for a long time, this kid won't eat anything that has to do with eggs, right? Egg salad sandwich. So I don't want my kids' crackers to be gross for them if that's the only thing they eat.
No,
So-
listen, I get it. You're putting way more thought into it. Than
I'm like the
maybe-
offspring. I like to keep it separated.
Well, and like, listen, like my wife, like the odd time I've been home and then like she's getting the lunches going and I'm like getting them ready or whatever. I'm like, oh my God, I'll throw up. I go, what am I smelling chicken fingers right now?
Gross.
And I'm like, the smell of chicken fingers at 6:30 in the morning just it hits me the wrong way. But that's what they get. She'll make chicken fingers. She'll make pasta for them. Put them in a thermos. Oh yeah, and I'm like, whatever happened? Just a sandwich, a piece of fruit, maybe a yogurt, and a little treat or some crackers or whatever. No, it is way more gourmet. 21% of parents say a majority of their lunch is uneaten.
Yeah.
That a lot of them eat their leftovers. They say they often use the leftovers as a snack. That's the funniest part, though, when it's like they come home from school and they're like, I'm hungry. And you open like, well, here's some strawberries you didn't frickin' eat. Yeah. Here you go. They look at you like you just gave them horse manure.
I know.
Do your kids, my kids are like, there's a difference between a snack and a treat. Like a snack would be salty and a treat is sugary, right? So like, can I have a snack and then can I have a treat? So they'll come home and be like, can I have a treat? And I play a game, say like, let's see how much lunch you've eaten. And then I'll open it up. And if there's cucumber and carrots there, you ain't getting nothing till that's gone.
Right.
And I'll put it into a bowl and I'll repackage it and give it to them. Be like, oh, Daddy cares about you. No, I don't.
I just
did, you know what I mean? I just did the old switcheroo. And so then they eat it and then they get a treat.
Wow, strict households.
Well, we were talking about old school parenting before. That's my old school parenting. You're going to eat lunches that I made for you. Call me crazy.
I just, it's hard because my kids just won't eat it. And I get it because it's kind of been warmed up through the day. Depends what it is.
Yeah.
But they're just not interested. They do say in this article that it's still kind of sandwiches and chips and juice are kind of the mainstay.
Yeah.
It says when asked about their kids' least favorites foods, parents listed snap peas, green beans, and
Tuna?
Oh my God. And
who's making their kid eat tuna
I'm
at
actually
school?
going to throw up with the next one.
Hard-boiled eggs?
Oh, I used to have those.
Jack gets those. Jack gets those because you can't. Okay, so you got to get
love those.
You got to get a protein in there, right?
Yeah.
And peanut butter's not allowed. You can't give them any sort of mixed nuts.
Hold on a second, Johnny. I just want to say, whoever's going to edit this or whatever, I might actually throw up on camera. So
Do it.
I put a little bit. What about that little liquid that's in the bag?
Don't.
With salt and pepper.
Don't.
Don't throw up.
No, do throw up.
Oh my God.
We need ratings. Listen, I give it to my son in like its own special bento box. I can only imagine what the smell is because I think it's disgusting as well. But like I'm forcing it on my kid.
4 hours later, you give your kid a hard-boiled egg?
Hell yeah.
I love it. When I was a kid, I was a fat kid. I would have like 3 in a little Ziploc bag.
Those were Cadbury eggs. Because she was fat.
I got it.
Get it.
All right. Don't forget, if you would like to participate in the Bad Parents podcast like Adam did by sending us an email, please do so at badparents@curiouscast.ca. Again, my name is it there? Is my name there with my
I hope
Instagram?
It's not. I hope you're just pointing
Johnny
at your crotch.
No, I'm not.
My name's Dick?
No, I'm not.
Dick Garbett.
John Garbett. You are
Ryan Parker.
You are
Shauna.
And this has been Bad Parents.